Hey guys, I just stepped outside to grill up a piece of fish for dinner and I looked up and I just saw how nice it is outside. Look at how clear and beautiful the sky is. It's really hard to tell when you're standing on the ground and looking up, but there are a lot of layers to our atmosphere, and each layer has its own unique properties. This video is going to get into those layers. It's going to talk about the unique properties of each one, so make sure you take some really good notes. I'm also going to show you some pictures that look at the atmosphere from the side so you can see what those layers are. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and ask me in class, but make sure you take some really good notes. I'm going to go ahead and grill up my dinner.
So check this out. A friend of mine flies for a major airline carrier, and he was able to get this picture for me from the cockpit of a jetliner. Here's another picture he sent me. This is looking out the side of the airplane. Look at how the atmosphere starts out pretty thick down here, and it fades as you go up higher in altitude. I'll give you a bonus if everybody can figure out where this picture was taken. But here's another picture too. This is looking at the back of the airplane. Such an amazing view. Look at how you can see how thick the atmosphere is, and it just fades out as you increase in altitude. And this is something that you can't see if you're standing on the ground. If you're standing on the ground, you look through the whole atmosphere. You don't get to see it from the side, so you can see how it fades out and see the layers. It's really cool. Now what this video is going to do is it's going to get into the individual layers of the atmosphere. It's going to give you some of the properties. But I do want to say this, it's just the basics. So we're going to get into way more detail in class. Just take some good notes here about the general properties and you'll be good to go. All right, the first layer we're going to talk about is called the troposphere. The troposphere. Now, if we take a look at the little diagram down here, then we can see that the troposphere is the atmospheric layer that's closest to Earth. And because of that, there's some things that are kind of special about it. First of all, it contains all life on Earth. All the cute and fuzzy stuff, and all the real strange-looking things like this blobfish. You know, and also, because it's close to Earth, it contains all of our weather. All the nice stuff and all the severe stuff. So all the clouds, all the rain, all the wind, all the rainbows, tornadoes, hurricanes, you name it, and it happens in the troposphere if it's related to weather. And it's also where all commercial airliners fly. Now, some of them may fly right at the boundary of the troposphere and to the next layer above it, but most commercial airliners, big and small, fly all within the troposphere. There's one other quick thing, is it contains all land. This is the tallest piece of land on Earth, and it doesn't reach out of the troposphere. Another little bonus. What's the tallest piece of land on Earth? Where is this picture from? All right, so let's get into the next layer. It's called the stratosphere. And you're going to notice that as we get higher and higher up into the atmosphere, there's less stuff going on. And so in the stratosphere, we only got a couple things. It's where all weather balloons are, and it's also the layer that contains the ozone layer, the most important thing. Now, the ozone layer is not a layer of the atmosphere in itself. It's a part of the stratosphere. And what's really important about it is that it protects us from harmful UV rays from the sun. Without the ozone layer, there'd be a lot more ultraviolet or UV radiation coming to Earth from the sun, and that would be really harmful for all life on Earth. All right, so the next layer is called the mesosphere. The mesosphere does protect us. It's a protective layer. It's what it's often called. Why? Because when debris comes into Earth's atmosphere, like rocks or even space junk, things that are broken off from satellites, this is the layer where things burn up. So meteors that come in from space, they burn up in Earth's mesosphere before they crash the Earth. If Earth didn't have an atmosphere, then any object falling from space would crash down and hit Earth. So this is a really important layer for us, the mesosphere. The next one's called the thermosphere. Now we're kind of getting to this place here where we're not really in space, but the air up here is really thin. Something really cool that happens in the thermosphere is this is where all auroras happen. And what that means is the sky is glowing. It has to do with the gases that are in there and the way they get charged up by the sun. We'll get into that later. And now the last layer is not really a layer. It's a part of the thermosphere. It's called the exosphere. And as you go through it, you're continuing more and more into space. And once you are out of Earth's atmosphere, you are technically in space. And the exosphere is the doorway that gets you there. A couple more general notes that are really important. As you go up in altitude in the atmosphere, the air becomes thinner. And as you go down in altitude, the air becomes thicker. When you're higher up in the atmosphere, the air pressure is much lower because there's not as much air pressing down on you. And when you're lower in the atmosphere, there's a higher atmospheric pressure because there's a greater force of air pushing down on you. There's more weight of air pushing down on you. And that's it. That covers all the general properties of the major layers of Earth's atmosphere. Make sure you took good notes. We're going to review these in class, and we're also going to get into more detail in class. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask or send me a message.